Okay.
Welcome to Loan Officer Success Live, sponsored by Premier Lending, the show where the mortgage industry's top players pull back the curtain. Your host, Devin Dubuque, sits down with industry leaders, top producers, and game-changing mortgage tech innovators, all sharing their unfiltered strategies, bold ideas, and proven secrets for success. Get ready to take notes, think bigger, and play to win, because this is Loan Officer Success Live. Welcome back, Michelle. It's Michelle Berman-Mikel, or is it just Michelle Michael? How do we want to address this today?
I love that you asked that, Devin, to start. I am legally Michelle Michael, very happily married. My 7-year wedding anniversary is actually tomorrow. But I go by Michelle Berman-Mikel, and there's some fun story there, right? I started my company back in 2014 when I was Michelle Berman. Get married, and then you're like, oh shoot, I've been in business for quite a few years, and are people going to forget about me if they don't recognize the name? So I kept it as Michelle Berman-Mikel for my full, quote, stage name. But I feel like now enough people know that I am Michelle Michael that we're trying to drop the Berman.
Let's get rid of it. So it's Michelle Michael. Happy anniversary early. Hopefully I'm one of the first people to say it.
You're the first person to say it. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I got it right here live, right here live. So, well, I think we've got a pretty incredible show. And just to kind of throw some cliff notes in there, Michelle and I met at an event a few weeks back, MortgageCon 2026. Shout out to Empire and those guys over there doing amazing things for our industry. And you were one of the speakers. And somebody connected, so like, you should know each other.
I was surprised we didn't actually, but
same, exactly. And so the next thing you know, we're like, let's get a podcast going. And what Michelle's superpower is she is a social media guru, and she's going to tell you some things that maybe you don't want to hear today about social media. And that's what we call the discipline over dopamine, why chasing likes is killing your momentum. Okay. And so I think that's going to challenge some mortgage professionals and some of the belief systems that we have out there. So, Michelle, let's start here. Why are so many mortgage professionals addicted to social media dopamine instead of focused on real momentum?
Oof, what a great way to start. So I'll start by saying, social media guru is I feel like that's how would you describe it? That's an over compliment, right? In the sense of, yes, I love social and I really, really love being on the social platforms. But what I can tell you is my true sort of what I'm known for, right, is that I am a monster prospector when it comes to using social as the vehicle. So social media for me is, yes, I want to make great content. Yes, I want to post good, good information and be valuable and be informative and be a mom and a wife and someone that people can relate to. But I also want to say to someone who might be listening to this, like, if you're on that hamster wheel and you're feeling sort of sick and tired of, why am I creating content all the time? Why am I spending all this time and energy and money on trying to create something and it's not creating any ROI for me? Then that's where I come in, right? And that's where my superpower really comes in and says, here, let me show up on the white horse and save the day. But to the likes comment and that side of the conversation, here's what I want to say. I truly, truly believe, Devin, that we're living in, if not the most, one of the most distracted business environments in history. And I think that sales professionals are just bombarded by AI and algorithm shifts and this pressure around content and this culture that equates how much attention I have or am getting on my stuff to my success. Yet something like burnout, which we talk about all the time. I talked about it on stage, actually, where you met me. Burnout and this inconsistency and anxiety around our pipelines, all of it is rising as a lot of us have been spending so much time on social media without the ROI to show for it. So we have this rise in this with being attached to something that doesn't actually make us money. So I think that I'm here to challenge that narrative and say that the future of sales is not virality. It's a disciplined daily action. And, all of this, I know we're going to talk about the black line and because I'm so passionate about it, but it draws from this history for me of 20 years of staring at the black line on the bottom of a pool as a competitive swimmer. And I didn't swim just any race. I swam the mile. So that is where the discipline term really comes into play. And I think is such an important part of this conversation. But This is where, for me, I look at social and I say, where have I been able to build a framework that can turn us from these hamsters on a wheel of content creation, and instead make the shift towards, I'm now prospecting and creating an ecosystem on my social channels that create real relationships. There's a pipeline where I'm proud of. I look at
I
my
love
calendar
that.
and I'm like, damn, I got a lot of calls with a lot of cool new people. And all of those conversations originated on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever. And most importantly, Devin, it's real money, right? Like money in your bank account because you met someone on social and that person is now on your calendar. You had a great conversation that turns into the opportunity that you need.
Yeah. Well, and you covered a lot of this, but I'm going to ask this because the question is, why do likes, views, and followers feel productive even when they're not producing revenue?
Yeah, they feel productive because they make us feel good, right? That's what dopamine is. And
It is.
I jokingly say this, you and I were talking offline about something personal to the two of us, but I joke about this from this perspective of, think of like when we go to the casino. I don't gamble anymore. I used to back in the day, but when you think about that, I remember the first time I ever played blackjack in Atlantic City when I was 21 years old. I think I won like $1,200 playing blackjack over the course of a day. And I remember leaving the casino being like, that was amazing. Like, I want to go back again,
That's it. Yeah, 100%.
That's dopamine. And that's
It is.
why casinos take a lot of money from a lot of people, and keep us coming back. And when you think about dopamine, it's this happy drug, right? It's this thing that makes us feel good. And it's that affirmation of, oh, that was like a quick hit. Now I want to keep going. But the problem is with the social channels, specifically, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn being the big three that I spend the most time on.
Yeah.
It's such a fleeting metric. And there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, the algorithm changes every single freaking day. I swear.
That's
like
right.
There's something that changes. So if you're a true social media expert, I mean, every single day, all you do is study the algorithm. That's what you'd have to do.
That's it.
I don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. Like, if you're a
we have real businesses
to this, like, you don't have time for that.
That's right.
So why are we attaching ourselves to something that frankly just, oh, I got 100 likes on this post, but I only got 2 likes on this. But if you actually break it down and you look at some of your own statistics over the years of doing content creation, some of my best content that's gotten me actual business has the 2 likes, not the 200.
Yeah.
So
same, by the way.
I just don't put any weight into it at all.
Well, so that goes back to one of the things that you said in our initial conversation, and you said you don't care about followers, algorithms, or video views. Nope. So if that's not the metric to measure, right? If that's not the scorecard, then what matters?
Great question. The answer is what's on your calendar. So if you're listening to this and you're a loan officer saying, I'm looking at my March and how's my April shaping up? Because it's, we're almost a third of the way through March already. And when you look at that, you say, okay, well, what does April look like, for sake of conversation? Or even back it up and say, what's the last 3 weeks of March look like for me on my calendar? And I can tell you, for me, I look at my calendar and I say, next week alone, I have 2 meetings on Monday that are going to produce opportunities that create ROI for me in the form of speaking or webinars or something along either of those lines.
That's right.
Right. But I have a client right now. Her name is Callie. I absolutely love her. And we met yesterday. And one of her core things that we're focused on for the month of March is 10 new realtor meetings with agents that she's not currently getting business from.
Amen.
But we only use social as the vehicle. So that's the thing with me. And this is something I really want to make everyone aware of, is when I'm talking about prospecting, I'm not talking about phone calls, emails, or text messages. I'm talking about, we are putting time and energy into making content on social. So you need to prospect using social as the vehicle. You need to send messages through Instagram, through LinkedIn, through Facebook, because that will drive the eyeballs to the content that you've now created that you want people to see. And think about it from this perspective. If I send you a message, Devin, what's the first thing you're doing? You're clicking on my profile and looking at it and being like, who is this girl that just sent me a message? So most of the time we have to think of this. People aren't seeing our content first. They're seeing the message first, and then they're clicking on the content.
That's right.
So if you're wondering why you're not getting any inbound messages, it's because you're not giving a reason to do that, a person to do that, right?
You're just hoping that somebody saw the video.
Hoping is not a strategy.
and calls you. It's not. Yeah, we can't live
Yeah.
on hopium, right?
No,
So
and
what your
no.
suggestion is you create content that's going to be specific to the market that you want to attract, and then you reach out to these individuals via the DMs. And now they go to your page and they look you up and they see what you're doing. And now, because of the fact that you're communicating through the DMs, the algorithms actually start to pick this up and say, oh, these two people know each other. And by the nature of the business, it's going to start putting more of your stuff in front of them. But more importantly, you've created an actual conversation with the
Yeah.
target audience.
Yeah. And the content side of the conversation is loaded, and we could have an entire show probably on just the content side, but
Let's get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, how you produce content matters. And I have a very intense philosophy around the psychological backing of, or the psychology behind, I should say, sales and how people operate. And I'm a big storyteller. I believe in the power of analogies. I went to school and studied the whole philosophy around storytelling and sales. That was my undergrad and part of my master's degree. Plus, I've seen it work in my own life, which is literally why I named the book that I wrote The Black Line, which is an analogy based off of a pool. So there's a reason for that, right? It wasn't just an accident. But to get back to the beginning of your question, what's the ultimate metric? The ultimate metric is for Callie, for example. If she's looking at the rest of March and she says, I only have 5 people on my calendar, or 5 new agent meetings for the rest of March, but I know I need to have 10 because that's my magic number, then guess what she needs to be doing for the entirety of the rest of next week, pretty much, because today's Friday, right? So all of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, next week, that's 5 days. She sends one message every day for those 5 days with the sole intention of getting 5 new realtor meetings on her calendar with people that she is not currently getting business from. Set the appointment, get them on Zoom, go meet them for coffee, whatever you're going to do. But you have to get them on your calendars, because what happens is when you hit that 10 metric, which is why she came up with it for herself. Now, everybody's going to be different. Some people don't need 10. Some people need 5.
That's right.
But for Callie, she's a younger, newer loan officer who is like, last year was her second year in mortgage, and she did 20 million in her second year. Like, incredible, right?
Amazing.
But she wants to go from 20 to 30 in 2026. Okay. Well, Callie, we can't keep doing what we've been doing. We got to do something different.
Amplify it.
And how do we do that? She's a young, hungry loan officer that understands the power of social. Her content's good now because we fixed that. So now it's, let's go prospect. Let's go send messages that are going to get people to say yes, that are using leverage properly, which is the whole strategy, and gets that person to say yes. Now, if you have 10 new calls on your calendar with agents that you've not currently been doing business with, that you're going to convert at least one, which means that she's going to get 1 new loan this month from someone that she was not expecting a loan to come from. And that, I feel like, is how you go from 20 million to 30 million, or hell, 7 million to 15 million, whatever your number is.
You've got to set that parameter for yourself. So
Correct.
let me ask you this, because you're talking about some amazing ideas, but let's talk strategy. Okay. Sure. So what does the strategy look behind the social media that we're producing? And I'm sure this is maybe more specific for each individual, but let's just talk on the general side. And then once we've adapted that strategy and determined what we're going to put out on social, what's the strategy look like behind the scenes in the communication to draw the appointments in through the DMs?
Yeah, so the strategy is very intentional. It's a 4-part framework, and I talk about it for anybody who is listening to this that already owns the Black Line. Go get it out of your library, and earmark page 132 and 133, because that's where the answer to this question that you just asked me is, Devin, for people who want it. It is the 4-part framework of the outbound prospecting message, but here's the 3 key elements to it. There are 4 parts, but 3 key elements as a whole. Number 1 is you have to have an identified lever in your outbound message. So when you're sending a message to someone that you don't know, the power is in the leverage. Now, when you create levers, right? For example, how did you and I meet, Devin? Somebody that was at the event, who has been a client of mine for close to 5 years, bought my course back in 2019, has been in my world for a very long time. I actually had lunch with her for the first time when I was close to 25 weeks pregnant with my first son, right? So that's how far this goes back. So that's somebody who I've maintained a relationship with. I've built and sustained a relationship with over a long period of time. That's somebody who's a lever. So when you send a message to someone that you don't know, the idea is you have a lever, you have this person that you can name drop that will help build the bridge between the person that you already know to get to the person that you don't. So that's important. You need to have a strong identified lever. Now, here's the second most important part of that framework. You have to establish the personal connection in the message that you send to someone. So if I were to send you a message, Devin, and let's say I knew Ferris from another life, right before I didn't know you, but I knew Ferris. And let's say I'd done a webinar for Premiere and I'd done all this other stuff for Premiere, but you didn't know who I was for whatever reason. Okay. Well, in the message I send to you, I have to name drop Ferris and then I have to explain how I know him. Right. I can't just say, hey, I know Ferris and he told me to message you, because you're going to be like, what? Yeah. But if I name drop him and I explain, hey, I actually met Ferris in the lobby standing out in front of the steakhouse. Him and I met, we talked for 30 minutes. He was so excited about what I do and wanted to get on my calendar next week, you know, blah, 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 explain, right? So 2-3 sentences. But what happens is two things. Number one, you believe me. Yep. Right. Hopefully. Number two, there's this credibility around my name now. And all of a sudden I'm not making it about me. I'm making it about, hey, I have this relationship with this person and look at all of the value that we created together. And now I'm in your DMs, Devin, saying, hey, I want to support you. Right. So personal connection is key. So when you identify the lever, when you identify the lever, what is the personal connection you have with them? Don't just say a person's name and expect the person on the receiving end to be like, cool, great. Explain.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah.
And then the last piece, perhaps the most important and the one that gets wrong, or most people get wrong, is the time anchored call to action. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this done wrong over and over and over and over again. If you send someone a message on social and you say, are you available at any point next week? Or let me know what your calendar looks like. My calendar is really freaking busy. Sorry. Yeah. Right. Like, but if I say, hey, Devin, I have some openings on Tuesday morning, actually Wednesday morning, it might be better, but Tuesday morning I can do 10 a.m. Central. Do either of those work for you? That's what we call a time anchored call to action. This is sales 101. That's what this is. Now, when you combine a strong sales strategy with a strong social strategy, meaning your content is as good as your outbound messaging, it is a recipe for a gangbuster year. Amen. For those of you that are willing to do the work, which is the discipline side.
Well, and let's talk about two parts there. So number one, what is discipline, right? And then number two, what does that content look like? What is that content piece?
Yeah. What is discipline? Man, I can't tell you what the Webster definition is, but I can tell you what mine is. Yeah. And I really believe this. Like, I feel like discipline was ingrained in me years and years and years and years before I ever even knew what it actually meant. Right. I think the black line on the bottom of a pool taught me it before I even knew how to type it into Google to find out what the definition is. But the truth is, for me, discipline is the ability or the desire to continue to show up daily to do something that I know is going to produce success. Now, discipline, I don't think comes from motivation. I don't think that they're they're not equivalent, right? Meaning I don't get disciplined because I'm motivated. That's not how that works, right? I get disciplined because I do something when the rest of the world says, hey, maybe we shouldn't do that. Right. Yeah. I get disciplined when other people are doing the opposite and I choose to stay in my lane. Right. This is a good example. I know you share this sentiment, but I don't drink anymore. I haven't had a drink in 2 years, and partially fertility, partially just the desire to be a well-rounded human and mom and athlete. Agreed. And it doesn't work for me to be able to be all of those three things, even having a glass of wine, as much as sometimes I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Right. But the discipline comes when you're out with all of your friends and everyone's having a glass of wine and you say, hey, it sounds good, but it's just not part of my story anymore.
That's right. That's right.
So it's the desire to do something where the world is almost telling you, why are you doing that? Right. Yeah. So that's what I would define discipline
as. I think we have to go against the grain sometime when it comes to discipline, right? Because if we want to become successful at whatever it is that we do, we have to set what those standards look like. We have to stick to them because those are our standards. And that's where not only discipline is created, but that's where success strategies are created as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's doing the uncommon or doing the common, I'm sorry, uncommonly well, right? Like
That's it.
whatever the formal definition is of a high performer or someone who is a disciplined human. Think about elite athletes, right? They're
That's right.
disciplines, which means they're doing the fundamental skills of whatever the sport is uncommonly well. But
Exactly.
the sport itself is a common thing that a lot of people do. So that's where, I think discipline comes in. But to your point, you're on the content side. What is the content strategy? And I can tell
Well,
you
before you go into the content strategy, let's
Yeah.
talk about the discipline behind how the social strategy works, right? So what does
Sure.
that discipline look like for this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this every single week. In fact, I'm going to do this every single day. How does it outline that for me?
Yeah, it's so simple. It is stupid simple. And I'll tell you what it is. It's sending one message every single day without fail. That's the discipline. So it is a very common thing that you must do uncommonly well, meaning that most people are going to say, Michelle, that's a little too simple. I've had people say that to me. I've gotten off of stage in front of 600 loan officers at a big event recently, and they came up to me and they were like, Michelle, I just feel like I'm missing something. This is so simple. And I was like, you're damn right it is. But how many people of the 600 loan officers in this room are actually going to do it? 2%, 3%, maybe, right? And what is the strategy? I'm sending one message every single day with the intention of getting a booked call on my calendar that is going to drive an opportunity for my business. Now, I'm a little bit different in the sense of, I'm not originating. So what my 3 drivers are different. And when I say drivers are the thing you must do on a monthly basis that create the opportunity for a lead to be exposed to you, right? So notice I didn't say the word lead is the goal. I said the opportunity that gets you in front of the lead is the goal, right? Amen. So for me, what the 3 drivers are, podcast is one. I love riffing with friends and talking, especially because it allows us to amplify our message.
It does.
The second thing is speaking. I love speaking. I love the dopamine feeling of walking out on stage, even though you're like, God, please give me the right words right now for this room. Yeah. But, and usually he does. Thank you, Lord, for that. But the important part is that those things drive opportunity into my business. So every loan officer is a little bit different. Some people are recruiting. Some people are in executive leadership. Some people are originating, right? What is your ultimate thing that you need to be doing on a monthly basis? If you're recruiting, and you're not meeting with, 3 to 5 to 7 new recruits on a monthly basis, probably got a problem, right? I have a client right now in Dallas who his target number is 5 new 5 new loan officer meetings every single month. But then we have a secondary back end strategy behind that of if he has 5 new meetings with brand new LOs that don't know anything about his company that month, he also has to have a secondary driver, which is a certain number of follow-up meetings with individuals he's already met with, right? Meaning his goal is to get a certain number of round 2 meetings every single month. So we track it. I mean, Devin, I've made a hardcore homework assignment. It's 3.5, almost 4 pages. It's my signature assignment, if you will, within my coaching program called the Drivers and Levers, but you got to document it. I mean, the math doesn't lie, right?
That's it.
So if I know, and if it's staring in front of me on a card, right, or on a PDF or however I check it, and I look at that and I say, okay, well, my goal is to have 5 new 5 new loan officer meetings this month with people I'm trying to recruit to my company. And I'm looking at my calendar and, well, shoot, I only got 3. Okay. Red flag is up. Now I know I'm 2 in the hole. I got to go find 2 more.
That's it.
So my prospecting for the next several days is to fill that bucket. Until that bucket's full, my eyes don't come off the line. And that's the discipline aspect that comes into avoiding shiny object syndrome, avoiding so-and-so is doing this. Oh, I want to go do that. No, sir. No, ma'am. Right. My bucket's not full. My number's 5 and I'm at 3. I'm not doing anything until that bucket's full.
Yeah, you got to stay focused on the prize. You got to have the discipline to follow through. You got to discipline to track it, because if you really want to achieve your goals, all these things are 100% necessary to get where you're going. And more importantly, if you do track it, you can go back and look at where you fell off or where you lost your way, or you can look at the spikes and go and really see within those numbers what it was that got you there so you can go back and duplicate the successful efforts. So
Exactly.
now I want to get into the black line. So we're going to go there, but I want to finish up one
Yeah.
question, which is the social strategy for what we should be posting. I know this is going to be a little different for everybody, but you talk about quality of the social and message of the social. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the quality of the social is simple, right? Like I think the days of when we first all got into the business, you know, I started social back in 2014 when Instagram really popped off and became a thing. So we're talking 12 years ago, and that's a long time in social. But what I can tell you from, you know, 2014 to today in 2026 that has changed dramatically is the line of personal and professional now it's totally blurred, right? Meaning like both of them have to coexist. So
Amen.
I see a lot of people who are unafraid or unwilling, excuse me, or afraid to cross the boundary.
Right.
Or they'll be like, well, am I supposed to have two accounts? Am I supposed to have a personal account? Am I supposed to have a business account? The answer is no, because I'm one human. I don't operate two different bodies, right?
Yeah.
So I'm mom, I am wife, I am high D, high performing business owner who loves to make people better, right?
Right.
And help people grow their businesses. So those two things have to coexist. And I think that the social strategy for most people is one or the other. And I also think that when it comes to mortgage content, specifically, this is where someone might throw a tomato at me, but so you'll have to let me know if they do. But I think there's two huge issues, and I want to expose both of them. Number one is if all you talk about is mortgage, I do not care at all. I don't care, right? I don't care if all you want to do is talk about your new cool product. That doesn't mean jack to me as a consumer because I don't even know who you are. And there's no story behind that for it to make me understand why that would be of benefit to me.
That's it.
Right. So your content, if you're going to talk about mortgages, even more importantly, which you should talk about mortgage. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying you have to understand that there is a strategy around how to deliver information around a mortgage product or around, hey, it is now a good time to refinance, right? You ask yourself all those questions in a way that is digestible and consumable for your audience. And the number one way to do that, and this is a perfect segue into what I know you want to talk about, but and I didn't plan that just happened on accident in my brain. But the perfect thing about this content that I'm talking about is everything needs to be rooted in analogies and stories.
Okay.
Stories and analogies are what sell humans into likeness with you.
That's it.
That's it. That is it.
I agree with you 100%.
Simple.
Yeah. And I think, you know, it has to be relatable. You have to be relatable. You have to be yourself on social media. You have to show people the in between the line stuff too. It can't just be about the mortgage. Who are you? What are you doing? What do you do outside of the mortgage life? Do we like you? Are you a real person? Because we're in a trust recession right now. You know, Neil talked about that at Mortgage Con, and you know, I'm a firm believer of that as well. So if we're in a trust recession, let's show people who we really are on social media. And
well, that ties the second thing in. That ties the second thing in, Devin. And I have a very pregnant brain, and I don't want to forget to say it. But here's the second thing: is if all you're using is copy paste in-house marketing content, you have a major problem.
Yeah.
Right. I'm very proud of what this one particular company that I am recently working with. They reached out to me and they're like, Michelle, we only have about 50 loan officers right now, but we have a content problem because our content sucks and I know it. So, and the gentleman was very honest, and I thought it was an amazing conversation, and I was really proud of the owner of a company looking me dead in the face on a Zoom meeting and saying, hey, Michelle, my in-house marketing, we have a problem. Right. Yeah. And it's not that the content doesn't look good because it's pretty and it's branded well, but it doesn't represent the individual loan officer. It's a one person sitting at a desk, mass producing content for all of those 50 loan officers. And there is no differentiation. And the loan officer might feel good in the moment saying, oh, I posted on social today. Yay, me, I checked the box. But I now see that same piece of content from all 50 of those loan officers.
Exactly.
Huge problem, right? Yeah. So every loan officer, no matter what company you work for, no matter who your leader is, hopefully they understand this important piece of this conversation, which is that every single individual needs to have their own unique identity, their own individual brand. Who am I? and how can I represent myself? I'm not saying
There
your
it is.
color scheme needs to be different than your company's. If you maybe you like your company's colors,
Yeah.
but we make all of our clients really intentionally go through a mood board assignment. Who are they? What are their stylistic likes? What are the things that make them them? Are they
That's
into
right.
hunting and fishing? Do they like archery? Do they like poker? Like, who are you? Right. And I have two ladies who both love spring, both love gardening, and their mood boards came out so wildly different from one another. But that's because all of the other input when you create something like that, no, they're not the same. They both like
Yeah.
gardening and they both like the spring, but when you look at their mood boards, they're totally 100% 180 of each other. But that's
Because they're
where
different
personal
people.
brands are born.
They love the same stuff, but they have their own identity. And you know, my good
Exactly.
friend John Hinks talked about this. We've got a separate podcast, The Mortgage Giants. If you know
Awesome.
John, he's 6'8", I'm 6'4", so it just made sense.
You are very tall. I can affirm that. Yes.
But John, you know, he said this. He said, if you don't know, you know, what about yourself, if you're having a hard time putting that mood board together, go ask your closest friends. Go ask your closest friends. If you think about me and you would describe me in 5 ways as to who you think I am, they're going to help you through that and get you to the right answer, because you need to be
100%.
known for how you're already known. You know, Sean Kaplan talked about this the other day as well. He talked about being in a room with Chris Do, trying to talk about through his brand and what it should be.
Yeah.
And he said they were sitting down trying to figure it out. And as they're sitting there, 3 of his friends walk out and they're like, "Hey, Cap, we're going to lunch. You want to join us?" And he's like, wait, what was that? What was that? Right? He's like, what they want to go to lunch? He's like, no, what was Cap? He's like, oh, that's people call me. It's like, that's who you are. That's your brand. Your Cap, right? So
Yeah.
I love where you're taking this, but I want to get on the most important part of this call today. And I know we're getting right at the wrap up time, so we'll go a little over today. And that's the black line, right? The black line. This is your book. It's available on Amazon. And I'd love to know right on the starting gate, you know, what does that concept mean? What does the black line mean to you?
Yeah, the black line is really about a philosophy that I feel like I've learned, you know, as I mentioned earlier, long before I was ever in business, but really it was rooted in 20 years as a competitive swimmer, and specializing in the mile, which is the longest event on the swimming program. So when you swim a distance event, you really have to put the blinders on. It's very easy to pay attention to what someone is doing next to you. And this race is so long that it is also very easy to get into your own head and have distractions creep in, you know, imposter syndrome, all the thoughts, all the things, right? So when I was staring at the black line at the bottom of a pool, it was that visual anchor, sort of that one thing that was always there, no matter what. It never went away. It didn't change. And it was that thing that kept me grounded. Lap after lap after lap, right? The average mile is 66, or the mile in a short course pool is 66 laps. In an Olympic size pool, which is what you see on TV during the Olympics, it's 30. But you can't see the finish line most of the time.
Yeah.
Right. And motivation fades very quickly in a 66 lap race. So what carries you through is the rhythm and the discipline and the direction. If I follow this line long enough, it will take me to the other side of the pool. I'll do a flip turn, turn around and come back and rinse, wash, and repeat. So the book takes that concept and applies it to business, and it applies it to life. And I think when we're living in a world that's obsessed with hacks and algorithms and all these viral moments, the people who are truly building genuine lasting success are the ones who commit to the small daily discipline actions. Now, I'll also tell you the black line is really about replacing noise with clarity, and realizing that motivation is not a lightning strike. It doesn't just smack us over the head one day and we wake up and we have it. It doesn't come from that. It comes from movement, meaning doing the thing that we're supposed to be doing is how we say, wow, that worked. Now I want to do it again. Hold on. Whoa, this is really working. Now I want to do it again. And then the last thing I'll say about the book is, you know, in 2024, I had a life-changing or life-altering event that cost me a lot emotionally and personally, financially, all of that. But I had a miscarriage that was the hardest thing I've ever experienced in my life. Any women or men, husbands, wives, anybody that's experienced that, I can tell you, I empathize. I'm there, and I feel you. But in that moment is when the black line was born, because I realized after close to 6 weeks of not being able to prospect, not being able to work. I mean, hell, doing the dishes was an uphill climb, let alone anything else. I had somebody call me and tell me, Michelle, I really need you to get back to who you are. Like, I've seen you over the last almost decade just crush what you're doing. You have to get back to who you are. And I was like, what does that mean? You know? And in a 2+ hour conversation with this very, very close friend, I had that moment. I had my oh shit moment, literally,
Mhm.
right? Of that is what the black line means. The black line is getting back to where I needed to be, that I had been pulled off of over
Yeah.
the course of this experience in my life. So the black line is part rally cry for others who have gone through struggles and ups and downs. It's a playbook for how to do it. And
Amen.
most importantly, it's a understanding of, hey, I've been there too, so this is lived experience. I have walked where you guys are walking,
Yeah.
and I've come out on the other side of it. And I'm not to say that, you know, God's not going to throw some other hard stuff at me in my life, but I have the tools and I'm equipped to work through them now.
There's no question about that. There's no question about it. And, you know, guys, if you want to pick up a copy of The Black Line, go to Amazon. You can find it there. It's just look for The Black Line.
Yep.
Michelle Berman-Mikel. It's probably how it's actually marketed. Am I correct with that?
It's actually Michelle Michael. You'll find it
Okay,
under
Michelle Michael. So
Yep.
Michelle Michael, and that's Michael with a K, Mikel. Okay.
Yep.
Go check that out. Grab a copy. You know, and if you want to jump on, you know, Michelle's schedule and learn more about her coaching program, you can find her at bermanmediapd.com. Have we changed that website? Is that still it? Is that the right one?
No, that is it.
That's it. Okay.
Yep. Berman Media is the name of my company.
Yep. That's it. .com, and you can get over there and, you know, get a chance to learn from Michelle and figure out your social media strategy, right? Figure out how you can use that to transition it into real business that converts and pays you actual money. And it's not about the likes. It's not about the followers. Those things are just dopamine hits. It's about actually utilizing this as a tool to grow your business in a very successful way. Okay.
Yep.
So let's bring it home. So if we've got a law officer or anybody out there that's listening in right now and realizes they've been chasing the wrong things on social,
Yep.
where should they start fixing it?
Two things. Number one, take a hard look at your content. Does this reflect who I am as a mom, a wife, a husband, a dad, as a human outside of work? And number two, does it actually represent me? Right? Do I look at my content and do I love it? Or is it I checked the box today? Right? And I could unpack that for a whole nother 20 minutes. We won't do that. But that's the number one thing. The number two thing that they need to do is, if they're looking at that and saying, well, crap, this is not where it needs to be. The second piece to that is, does it, and am I making this something where it's not about more content, it's about clear, more intentional content.
Amen.
Right? Because I think a lot of people assume to do better, they have to just do more. And I don't want you to do more. I want you to do less. And I want you to do it really, really intentionally. 2-3 pieces of content on a weekly basis is great.
Yeah.
Every single day is not sustainable for most people, not for me. And I do it for a living. So that's what I can say is intentional content is so key. So take a good hard look at, is this content a reflection of who I am as a human? Does it make me feel excited about posting it? Or am I just checking the social media box?
Well, go over and check out Michelle as well on Instagram at Berman Media Social. Go ahead and follow her and check out her content. See what she's talking about. Get a glimpse of that, right? You can also find Michelle on Facebook at michelle.berman.75, or just probably look at Michelle Berman. Sure, you can find her there as well. And again, make sure that you like and follow her there. But if you're looking for the book, go to Amazon. You can find it. And then if you want that strategy, if you want to start getting coached so that you can get to the top of your game and start turning that social page into, real hard cash, right? Booked appointments. Go over there to Michelle's website and jump right on. Michelle Mikel, thank you so much for coming on today. Absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I think we're going to help a lot of people with this one and put them in the right direction. So thank you. And I know you're about to go on a book tour, so good luck on the tour.
So excited.
And I think that's it, right? Any last messages before we wrap up today?
No, just I appreciate you, Devin, and I know that this is just the start of our friendship, and I'm excited that this is how it started. So
Same.
Thank you for having me, and I hope that it helps just one person. That's what it's about.
I'm sure they're thanking you right now. In fact, Rafael Amaro literally popped on and said, let me pop that up here real quick. He said pure gold. So
love it.
We've got
you,
at least
Raphael.
one fan. We've got at least one fan. So
love it.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap up today. Keep coming back every single week. We're going to have great guests on, just like Michelle. Maybe not just like Michelle, but we're going to have some good guests on. So, keep liking, following, subscribe to the content. We appreciate you so much. And until the next time. You've been watching Loan Officer Success Live, where real strategies meet real success. Don't forget to subscribe now and share it with your teammates, and keep leveling up, because your next breakthrough starts here. If this fired you up, don't just watch success, go out there and build it.